When you hear the name Muhammad Ali, what comes to mind? Probably the boxer, right? The lightning-fast jabs, the famous Ali shuffle. But if that's all you see, you're missing the real story. The story of a man whose toughest fights were way outside the ring. A man who used his incredible fame to challenge a nation and, really, to inspire the entire world. And it all started with that voice. You know, before Ali, boxers were supposed to be quiet. They let their fists do the talking. But not him. Oh no. He was a poet, a showman, and he was not shy about telling you how great he was. And this wasn't just trash talk, people. For a young black man in the 1960s, this level of confidence and self-love was absolutely revolutionary. So how does a kid from segregated Louisville, Kentucky become the most recognizable person on the planet? Well, his journey didn't start in some fancy boxing gym with a dream of glory. It started with something much more down to earth, a simple injustice. You really can't make this stuff up. The whole legendary career kicks off because a 12-year-old kid gets his bike stolen. He was furious. And this police officer, Joe Martin, saw that fire in him. He channeled all that anger into the gym, and in doing that, he accidentally set a legend into motion. What's just wild is how fast this all happened. I mean, look at the timeline. In just 4 years, he goes from being an 18-year-old Olympic gold medalist to pulling off one of the biggest upsets in sports history against the terrifying Sonny Liston. And then, right at that moment, at the absolute peak of his fame, he makes a choice that would change his life and the world forever. So Ali's on top of the world. But it turns out, his toughest opponent wasn't going to be another boxer. Not even close. It was going to be the United States government. His conversion to the Nation of Islam and his powerful beliefs set the stage for the real fight of his life. He famously announced that Cassius Clay was his slave name. And by choosing Muhammad Ali, he was making a huge statement. See, this wasn't like a celebrity changing their name for show business. This was an act of rebellion, a way of reclaiming his identity and rejecting a history that was forced on his ancestors. It was a powerful embrace of his faith and a new sense of Black consciousness. Now, this decision was incredibly controversial, and it put him on a direct collision course with the establishment, right in the middle of the Vietnam War. Which brings up the big question, right? He had it all, the money, the fame, the heavyweight belt, so why would he be willing to risk every single bit of it? And that was his answer. When he was drafted into the army, he refused to go. Part of it was his faith. It forbade fighting in wars not declared by Allah, but it was also a powerful protest about racial injustice right here at home. He basically asked, why should I travel 10,000 miles to fight for freedoms that I'm denied in my own hometown? And the system came down on him with his full force. I mean, they took everything. He was stripped of his title, banned from boxing in every state. They even took his passport. He was facing 5 years in prison. For almost 4 years, right in the middle of his athletic prime, the greatest boxer in the world was not allowed to fight. But Ali didn't just disappear, he kept fighting, just outside the ring. He started speaking at colleges all over the country and became this huge voice for the anti-war movement and for civil rights. Then, in 1971, the Supreme Court unanimously overturned his conviction, and that opened the door for one of the most incredible comebacks sports has ever seen. The comeback trail all led to this moment in Zaire. He was 32 years old, a bit older, maybe a step slower, and he was facing George Foreman, this absolute monster of a champion who was younger, stronger, and undefeated. Almost nobody gave Ali a chance. And this is where his pure genius really shines. Instead of dancing around like the old Ali, he did something nobody expected. He unveiled this shocking strategy, the rope-a-dope. He literally just leaned back on the ropes and let George Foreman, one of the hardest punchers ever, just hit him over and over. It looked like total madness, but it was a master plan. Foreman completely punched himself into exhaustion, and in the 8th round, a fresh Ali came off the ropes and knocked him out. An estimated 1 billion people around the globe watched him reclaim the title that had been taken from him years before. It was this amazing global moment of vindication. Okay, so he's conquered the boxing world again. He could have just retired, right? Hung up the gloves and enjoyed his fame. But that just wasn't Ali. Instead, he started a whole new chapter where his work as a global humanitarian would come to define the rest of his life. And you can see here, he was all in. He wasn't just lending his name to causes, he was personally getting involved. I mean, talking a man down from a ninth-story ledge, flying to Iraq to personally negotiate with Saddam Hussein for the release of hostages, he used his incredible fame to broker peace and show compassion in a way no one ever had before.
And even when he began his own quiet, debilitating battle with Parkinson's, his commitment to helping people never ever slowed down. The disease might have silenced his famous voice, but it couldn't even touch the fire in his spirit.
This quote, this was his guiding light. It's actually inscribed on his headstone. For Ali, greatness wasn't about what you collected for yourself. It was about what you gave back to other people. It was a philosophy he lived out every single day. So, when we step back and really look at the man, what's the full picture? His legacy is just so much bigger than a win-loss record. It's an incredible story of courage, transformation, and a truly profound global impact. Think about it. In boxing, he was, without a doubt, the greatest. In the fight for civil rights, he was an icon who sacrificed his entire career for his principles. In our culture, his poetic rhymes were basically a blueprint for early hip-hop. And as a humanitarian, he touched millions of lives. He completely shattered the mold of what an athlete could be. And so that leaves us with one final thought. While his victories inside the ring were legendary, what about his lifelong fight outside of it? The fight for his faith, for justice, and for his own identity. A fight that lasted a lot longer than 15 rounds. And that just might be the fight that truly cemented his claim as the greatest of all time.